Okay. So that is live, apparently. So I've got my partner here assisting me we had a bit of trouble with the tech tonight. Hopefully that is sitting so you guys can hear me. Okay?
Yep.
Beautiful. So tonight I wanted to touch on a little bit around the archetype of the good girl and my journey with it most recently, and also how this archetype, which is of course part of our very nature, it is something that is innate in all of us, and how integrating this archetype and being able to have a relationship with it is really vital in terms of us being able to access our true will and to come into the fullness of our expression. Also, just to frame, like I can actually see myself off to the side here, which was a slight distraction. So it's always fun with these lives, good, because you get the reactions in real time and you can notice me getting distracted. So back on task. Talking about my partner sitting behind the camera going, yeah, distractions. Well, talking about the good girl. If you are new to this conversation, to let you know what the intent is for this channel, the intent is for this content and this 100-day content working, I'll start at the very top. One of the core drivers of my bodies of work is really about this integration of the spiritual and the material, the way in which we as individuals begin to embrace the facets of ourselves, to understand the dimensions of self and reclaim and have agency over these components of self so that we actualize our true power and also come into congruence with our true will, which of course is key to magical thinking. If this sounds like a whole bunch of concepts that are relatively new to you, absolutely happy to demystify them, pop them down in the comments below and I will get back to you. However, for the intention of today, really just wanting to look at that idea of the path of self-realization and beginning to create a relationship and work with all of the beingness of who we are and beginning to allow our gifts and our innate talents to be shared with the world. So that's the first piece, that's my bodies of work, and that is the conversation that I'm wanting to bring online with this channel. It's talking about all the facets of this journey of self-realization, how we can become more aware and create more of an ownership and an agency with these components of self, reconciling the shadow elements of self, reconciling the parts of self that potentially we are yet to even come into contact with. And that is a big journey, which is essentially a life's work, and how we begin to create more ease and flow in that is by beginning to have these conversations. So if that sounds like something you'd like to get involved in, inviting you to hit that notification bell, because we are bringing content out every day for 100 days. Today is day 20. We are a fifth of the way through. So plenty more of this conversation to come, and it is something that I intend to continue moving forward with even beyond the 100-day content working. However, this is my daily ritual of devotion to beginning to anchor this conversation more into this material realm and into this reality. And for tonight, we're talking about the conversation of the good girl. And the reason I mentioned the good girl specifically, regardless of gender, is because this is something that for me, I have been deconstructing recently. And this also plays out regardless of your gender identity, whether or not you identify male, female, non-binary, or wherever you sit on the gender spectrum. There is this innate part of us that desires to be recognized as good. It's the archetype that sits behind the good student. It is the archetype that allows us all that we embody, that gradually dissolves the self to fit in with the constructs and the existing fabrics of social norms. And it is a desire to be seen, and it is also a mask. So it's a really paradoxical archetype that plays out. It is the desire to be loved, the abandonment of self in order to be loved, and then feeling ultimately rejected. So there is a rejection of self that takes place first, because the way that we protect ourselves is often we will reject ourselves so that other people really never get the chance to, because we've already done it. And the good girl is this archetype underneath the layers. It's the desire to be seen as worthy. It's a worthiness piece. For me, the reason that this felt really alive to speak to tonight is that tonight we have the full moon in Aries, which is where Chiron is currently sitting. And you may remember a couple of days ago I spoke about the archetype or the planet of Chiron, or it's not a planet, the comet or asteroid. Having a mental blank, I'm not sure if it's a comet or an asteroid, but it's Chiron. And Chiron represents the wound. It is in our chart, it is what we are here to alchemize and heal within ourselves during this lifetime. And in respect to Chiron, right now that is in Aries, so the moon is conjuncting Chiron. And the moon represents our unconscious. And often this wound is unconscious. And for me, most of this year, Chiron has been squaring my natal Chiron. So transiting Chiron is squaring my natal Chiron. Square creates tension. So there has been an innate tension within me to resolve this wound. And often I've actually had several conversations this year explaining that I've been feeling as though I'm journeying a lot of the things that I journeyed through in high school, which has been really curious. However, what it's really empowered me to begin to see is a new depth and a new layer of this chironic wound that I carry. And much of it is around this archetype of the good girl. Because mine is in the 9th house. The 9th house is a place of religion, it's the place of order, it's the place of structure. So in that respect, for me, it's very much this idea of the need to fit in. It is the wound of not belonging and not being lovable in the fact that I am naturally eccentric and outside of the box. And for me, that has meant masking so much of my expression. And it's been interesting because I'd spent a great deal of time over the last 3 years really deconstructing my frame around my expression, only to find out that there is more layers and nuance there. And that's a big part of why when I spoke at the start around this work of self-realization being a life's work, is because we are continually meeting ourselves as we grow and evolve, and as our situations grow and evolve. We meet new layers of self. We meet new layers of self in the day-to-day. We meet new layers of self within our career challenges. We meet new layers of self within relationship. As our environment and our relationships change, so do the perspectives with which we are mirrored back our internal world. As within, so without. So the reason I wanted to speak to this archetype of the good girl and how it relates to the true will is while we continue to filter our worth through our ability to conform to expectation, we are stifling our current. We are stifling the ability to navigate into what's true and to feel the resonance of what is most alive within us, which also stifles the medicine that we're here to bring into the world. If you are an entrepreneur, this medicine, this gift, the thing that you are here to impart in the world is so key to how people come to work with you. At a certain level, of course, as a service-based entrepreneur, we deliver content. And when I say a service-based entrepreneur, I'm more speaking to people that are either healers, practitioners, coaches, facilitators, teachers. When we are working with people, there is an innate transmission that we offer to people regardless of the content that we're speaking to. And the cleanliness and the ability for us to be able to allow people to receive that transmission really depends on our ability to clean up our channel. I feel like I might sneeze in a sec, so just allowing that. So clearing our own channel allows us to be a clear reflection and a clear space for people to begin to own that dimension of self. So whatever gift you're here to bring, that is highlighting a dimension within the people that are here to receive it from you. While we are playing out the mask of the good girl, while we are shaving ourselves to fit into, if we're a square and we're shaving ourselves into a round hole, we are not bringing through that essence. And that essence is such a deep reflection of this true will. Once we are able to find and resonate with that current of where it's taking us and to open ourselves into receiving it. So the way that I really became aware of the good girl archetype was beginning a new evolution within my business. It was the sense that I had reached a certain level of preconceived success, and then there was almost a part of myself that I was unable to face up until that point. And that's the other thing about the shadow. The shadow is illuminated as we meet ourselves in different scenarios. In this instance, this was the shadow that I was confronted with in terms of where I was yet to believe I was enough. Again, as I said, the worthiness piece, where my knowledge, my deeper layers of understanding of what was required came into question. And, you know, astrologically, I could go into the depths of my natal chart. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm wanting to keep it quite, I'm wanting to share this from a space of inviting you to reflect as to whether or not this resonates, where you may have seen this with others, yourself, keeping it broader conversation. However, one thing I did notice is that I began to look outside. So, which ironically is almost the antithesis of the medicine that I'm here to bring. And that's the other thing about the chironic wound. So much of that alchemy of being able to come back to integrating the wound within ourselves is part of that transmission that we're here to weave. The longer that we take resolving and seeing the masks that are playing out as a protection around that wound, we are, again, stifling our growth and stifling our ability to serve. And for me, it was very much that nuance of being able to call myself out on the fact that I was being pulled away from the very thing that I'm here to stand for. And I feel that in that journey, it's all perfect because it's been able to guide me back to a deeper level of conviction and also face off with this next layer of the good girl. And it has been really, really profound being able to meet myself at this new depth and new layer of self and conviction within what it is that I'm here to offer and here to share with the world. Would love to know what your thoughts are on this. What has been your experience? How have you found this full moon in Aries with the conjunction with Chiron? I will be back tomorrow with some more content, and if you are keen to dive into business magic now, I realize that I keep forgetting to mention this. I have got this amazing free activation audio that is in the description box below. Simply enter in your email, it'll be delivered to your inbox, and it is something that you are listening to and beginning to activate new essences and new layers within your business that are in congruence with that will. So definitely check that out if this is something that you feel is alive and on your path. See you guys tomorrow.